Hey, it's Luke, I'm just another angsty teen.
Okay, here we are, back at it again. Another day, another podcast. Another week, another podcast. Another Wednesday, another podcast. How are we doing, friends and family and lovers? Wow, I've never done that before. That's not. That sounded like a jokey intro that I do every episode, but because this is my first time doing it, comes off a little bit creepy, and I kind of like that. I like setting the tone of this episode as slightly creepy. That's kind of fun. That's kind of a change of pace for us on the Angsty Teen podcast. Anyway, welcome. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. I'm excited to have you. I'm happy you're here. It's a fun time, truly. I think. Well, okay, it's enjoyable for me. I don't know if it's enjoyable for anyone else, but regardless, all that matters is that I'm enjoying myself. It doesn't matter what anyone else feels, right? So, yeah. Anyway, I'm a narcissist. Welcome to the podcast. My name's Luke. This is another Angsty Teen podcast. Essentially, it's just a place where I overshare and where I talk about my feelings and get a little angsty, get a little overly dramatic, a little bit in my feels, all the good things, all the fun things that you want to do with like your friend in like a open area that you park at, on a Saturday night, and you're trying to get in your feels with your friend, and you put on some music, and then you guys start talking, and then it's like it starts jokey, and then eventually like one of you breaks and like actually lets out something really deep and heartfelt, and then the other one reciprocates, and then it's a great, fantastic, deep conversation. That's what this is meant to be, except you're not allowed to talk. Ha, I win. This truly is my dream. A one-sided conversation where I get to do all the talking and the other person's not allowed to have any input. It really is, dreams really do come true. Anyway, welcome to the podcast. If this is your first time, there's a basic rundown for the show. Right now we're in the intro, which is where I just talk about whatever comes to my brain first, whatever's on the top of my head. And clearly tonight, I am feeling all over the place, which we'll get into, because after the intro, we're going to go into the word of the... Wait, I didn't say that right. We're going to go into the word of the pod, which is a word that I've been into recently, or a word that I find on thesource.com directly before recording. And yeah, and it's a word that I like. I like words, and so I want to talk about words. And so then after that, we get into my favorite portion of the show, which is Luke's Life Update, where I get to talk about myself and what's been going on with me. And for a period of time, it was called Luke's Breakdown Corner, where I would talk about any recent breakdowns that I've had. But then I was getting really a lot mentally better. But then now I'm not again. So we're back at it with Luke's Breakdown Corner, potentially. I have a lot of stuff to talk about. So Luke's Life Update will be fun. And then we're going to jump into the topic, which is going to be a fun one. We're talking about am I good, which is a regular question that I ask myself as I fall into existential dread. And so I think that'll be fun, right? That'll be a fun topic. Okay, I'm recording the podcast and I'm filming it, and I want to see if I can plug this charger in while filming without having to stop recording the podcast, because that would be goals. I'm going to keep talking while I try to do this. Anyway, the word of the pod for today is a simple one. Plugged in. Boom! The word of the pod today is a simple, fun one. And it's one that I taught my boss at work the other day, and so I like this word. I use it a good amount. The word is idiom, which as per usual for the word of the pod, it's a fun word to say. I don't hate the way that it rolls off the tongue. Idiom, idiom. I would dare say that it's better than idiot. I think idiot, any word that ends with a t sound is too much work. It's asking too much of me. But idiom has a nice clean ending. Idiom. Idiot. Ugh. Sounds like the word is still trying to like go. And I'm like, no, the word is over. The word is over. You can't make any more noise. Idiot. Versus idiom. See, do you guys get the difference? Should I say should I say those words more so that you understand? But yeah, the word idiom, it's like colloquial sayings. Oh my gosh, that should be the word of the pod next week. Colloquial or vernacular. It's like phrases that are commonly used within a language that are not literal, and they're like metaphors almost, but they're like commonly used and they don't really make any sense. They're kind of hyperbolic, figurative. For example, the go-to example is it's raining cats and dogs. When obviously it's not raining cats and dogs. Are you crazy? But it's just a common saying that we collectively understand. But when someone is learning a new language, when someone's learning English, they obviously would hear it's raining cats and dogs and be like, yo, why are there doggos and catos coming from the sky? So, anyway, idiom. That's the word of the pod. I like it. Don't hate me. I like how unapologetic I've been so far in the podcast. Like right there, when I was so proud of the word of the pod, I was so unapologetic about that. That's a fun new flavor for me. A fun new flavor of Luke. Anyway, next up, after the word of the pod, obviously, we're going to get into Luke's life update. Luke's life update. What's going on in my life? So much. So if you were here last week, you know that I've been not doing too hot. Not doing too well. And I wouldn't say I've gotten worse, which is good. But I will also say my circumstances have gotten better, and yet I still definitely don't feel great. My friends who I was really, really close with last year came back from college, and I love seeing them. And so, like, when I'm around them, I feel very good and very comfortable and stuff, and I feel like I'm getting better, but I also can definitely feel still like a lot of anxiousness, and still like a lot of that kind of fuzziness at times where like I'll distance myself from myself. I don't know, where I'll kind of like woo, and then like I have to, I don't know, breathe a lot. Derealization, depersonalization. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Oh, here's a good life update relating to that, on that point. I'm going to talk to a psychiatrist on Thursday. I don't know if this is something that I share with people on the internet, but I don't care because I like my self-destructive tendencies. It makes for a more interesting life. But yeah, I'm going to see a psychiatrist on Thursday to talk about potentially trying anti-anxiety medication. Just to, I don't know, see. I'm gonna talk to them, tell them about my experience, and then they will decide if it's worth trying any medication. But then that'll be a whole interesting journey if that does happen, because I know that stuff takes a lot of time to figure out, and a lot of back and forth between different medications. So I don't know how that'll be. I don't know if that'll happen, but it's a potential, and maybe next week I'll be able to talk about it and see what it's like. I don't know. I'm kind of, oh my gosh, it's so bad. I get like anxious for therapy, and I get anxious. Well, I'm very anxious for this experience because I'm like, am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to be like, I don't know. I get worried about it. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of nervous. I feel like I won't say the right things. Not that like I'm trying to say the right things, but I don't know. I feel like they're gonna be like, no, you're literally just a normal person, and this is totally normal, and you're just coping very poorly with all of these feelings. That's what I think. I feel like they're just gonna be like, you're just over dramatic. But yeah, my therapist recommended I go talk to a psychiatrist, and so I don't know. I'm interested. How different will it be from therapy? I I'm very I'm very nervous. I don't know if it'll be super different from like the normal therapy that I go to. And so that kind of scares me because what if it's different? What if I have a new experience? Spooky. New experiences are spooky. But yeah, that's happening. So we'll see how that goes. I hope it helps me. I just want to like I, this is what Dr. Pam said, and this is similar to how I feel. I just want to like not be afraid to go to social things or like go out because like I don't know. Since I had that bad breakdown, which we talked about last week, so go listen to that episode if you want to hear about it. I get like scared that like in a social interaction with a group of people, it's suddenly gonna hit me, and I'm gonna have like whatever it is, a panic attack, anxiety. I don't know all the terms. Okay, I don't know all the terms, and I'm saying that now so that I can't be made fun of for pretending like I do, because I do not know all the terms. Um, but yeah, I have this fear that I'm gonna like suddenly depersonalize and freak out about it in front of people, because when I did it last time, I was by myself, and so I really don't want to do that in front of people because that would be like really embarrassing, and like that would freak me out even more. I really hope that never happens, because that scares me a lot. And like it borderline happens, and I hate it when it gets even close. Like when I'll start to spill my guts with a group of people or something, or when I'll start to like get too into my deepest feelings or whatever. I don't know. When I start to like articulate a lot of my anxieties or like some experiences and stuff in like a group setting, and then people are like, whoa, and then everyone kind of goes silent or something, or like I don't know, those experiences that I've had, although like minor and not that important, those have made me very afraid of like I don't know, having any sort of breakdown in front of people, because if they freaked out at just me like calmly talking about my mental state, if they just like were kind of like spooked by that, if I legitimately like had a full breakdown where I was like physically reacting to anxiety, I get really scared about that, because I don't want to do that in front of people. Um, I don't know, it's funny because I am very open about all of this stuff, and it's easy on the internet with a podcast to be open about it, but I definitely don't like to make it look like I'm affected by it. Like I like to seem like I have all of my SHIT together. I want to seem orderly and not even necessarily academic, because I like saying dumb things and I like joking a lot, and like I have a pretty stupid sense of humor. And so I'm not saying like I want to seem professional, but it's like I want to seem put together, or like I want to seem like someone who can communicate well, or like okay, this sounds really bad, but I'm just going to say it because I want to share my feelings openly to see if anyone relates. I want to seem like I'm not like a crazy person, because I do have a fear of that. And so even when I'm talking about certain feelings, there definitely is a line that I won't cross. And then there is also like I only express those feelings in a calm, orderly way, almost talking about them in the third person, talking about them without actually showing that emotion. I at least I try to. And so I don't know. It's super interesting because I'm an open book, but I'm not good at letting people in. Someone explained that to me. That is like a really interesting duality that I noticed today. Because like I do tell a lot of people a lot of things. I'm very honest and frank about a lot of feelings that I have and things that I'm thinking about. And a lot of my life is putting that stuff on the internet and even telling it to people in person, like talking about different things I'm feeling in my brain. And yet I also feel like I definitely am hesitant to like actually let people in, which I don't even know what that looks like. I don't even know what it looks like to let people in, but I don't know. I definitely get uncomfortable with getting close to people. Like legitimately close to people. I definitely like this is so weird. This is kind of a realization. It's like I like to appear open and I like to appear like I am I don't know. I have to ponder this more. Let me talk through it. It's like it feels very similar. It's like I still have a people pleasing tendency. I used to be like majorly into people pleasing, and it feels similar to that where like I want people to feel like they can be close with me, but I don't want to be close to anyone. Like I really want people to feel comfortable with me and like feel like they can tell me anything or like whatever that close relationship looks like, but I don't know, I don't really want to do that with anyone else. Is that bad? That's probably unhealthy. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I very much try to protect myself, but there's nothing really to protect myself from. I like to I guess I like to appear like I'm put together and not crazy. Um I don't it's another duality where like I don't want people to feel bad for me at all. I don't like pity at all. I don't want any of that. This is an interesting thought. Maybe we'll discuss next week because I don't have this thought fully formed and it's just hitting me now. And so I don't know if I can give like a full comprehensive of like idea of what I'm feeling. Okay, fun little thing. Sorry, I had to step away for a second. But fun little thing, there's like a single raindrop sound happening outside my window right now and it's going. And I don't know if you can hear it, but I really hope you can because I think it makes the atmosphere feel relaxing. But anyway, Luke's life update. I still have one more thing I want to talk about. So last week's episode was titled College Rejection, where I talked about all the schools that I got rejected from. And then like 2 days after I recorded that episode, I found out I got into BU, which is Boston University in Boston University. Yeah, I got into Boston University somehow. It's like a really good school that I should not have gotten into. And I don't know how that happened because the acceptance rate there is like 18%, and then UCSB, which was the school I talked about last week, theirs is like 29%. So that makes no logical sense. But whatever, I digress. It's fine. And then in the acceptance letter, they want me, or they said they want me to go to London next summer for a 6-week summer session. And so if I went there, I would be in London next summer, which sounds like an actual dream come true. Like I would love to go to London. And so BU has become quite a top runner, quite a front runner, quite a top choice. It's just a matter of money. And I have a financial aid meeting with their people tomorrow, which is also stressing me out because that sounds like Because that sounds like a lot of talking, and I feel like I'm going to have to prove my case, you know? They're going to be like, why do you deserve money? And I'm going to be like, because I don't have any. I don't have any cash on me right now, BU. Can you please give me some? Thank you. BU, if you're listening to this, I would actually really appreciate your money. But yeah, so that's crazy. I cannot believe that happened, and I'm very excited about it. And my parents framed my acceptance letter, which is not a thing that people do, but I was still very appreciative. They were extremely excited. My mom was very excited for me. She was freaking out. So that was fun. That was a fun experience. Again, that's why I say, like, things have been really good, because getting that news was really good. And for a little bit, I was like, okay, I'm actually a lot better. And it's the only reason I was feeling bad was because I got rejected from these schools. But alas, I still feel not good, not great. And I don't know why. And we're going to figure it out together, because that's what this podcast is for. You know, you guys have been here since day one, literally. I feel like you guys are probably the people that I'm closest to. That's like not a joke at all either. I probably tell you way more than I tell anyone. Whoa. I would say the podcast is legitimately my best friend. How sad is that? Probably very, 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 very sad. No, it's great. I'm happy for us. We make great best friends. We look really good together. I don't know, man. I don't know. That could be a whole other episode, like friends. I'm not good at it. I do not think I'm a good friend. I don't think I'm good at any sort of relationships. Not good at friendships. Definitely not able to be in a relationship. I think I have commitment issues. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's the thing where, like, I just don't like letting people in. But that sounds so cliche. It sounds like such a cliche thing to say. Like, I'm not good at letting people in. But also, cliches have a large element of truth. Cliches are cliches because a lot of people experience them. And then it's like you experience it and you're like, whoa, this cliche makes sense. Does that happen to anyone else? Where it's like you'll hear a cliched thing over and over and over again, but then you experience that and then you're like, oh, suddenly this actually makes logical sense. Okay, let us jump into the episode, the topic of today's episode, which is, am I good? This has been a thing for a bit. It's been a crisis that I've been having, where I ponder if I'm a good person or not. And I don't know, man. So let's give a little background. If you've listened to the iconic episode titled Religion, you would know that I have kind of stepped back from the church that I used to be, like, really tightly a part of. And that was for a number of reasons. Go listen to that episode if you want a more in-depth summary. Some ideological, some theological, different things. I don't want to get into it. But that definitely, I think, in the time that I've spent psychoanalyzing this crisis I've been having, I do think that the religious aspect plays a huge role. Because when I was super into church, it was so much easier to have, like, a distinct, straightforward moral understanding of the world, because it was like, I go to church on Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I do the things that I hear in church, and then I am, like, set. And even in striving to do the things that I was told to do in church, even in just pursuing those things, I was set. It was like, okay, this is what you need to do. It's clearly laid out for you. Even though there are certain things that were that we were taught, even though there are things that were nuanced and abstract, it was still like the pursuit of those things is all you need to be virtuous, all you need to be a good moral person. And there's something really valuable about that somewhat straightforwardness, because it made it a lot easier for me to process the world around me, and process what I do on a day-to-day basis. It gave me such a clear step forward, when I wake up in the morning, like, what am I going to do? And like, what's motivating me to do what I do? And I think in the deconstruction, reconstruction movement that's going on within the church, I don't know if it's actually movement or if it's just something that I see all over my feed because I'm consuming all of that content, but there definitely is a lot of young people leaving the church or rebuilding their faith and their values based on their current understanding of social issues and whatever. There's a lot of people that are either leaving the church or warping the church. Anyway, I think a piece of leaving the church or deconstruction that is not talked about is like the difficulty of it. I don't know if it's just me or if a lot of people who are deconstructing their faith go through this, but it's been really hard to navigate a more ambiguous moral compass. It's been really hard to know what is exactly good and what is exactly evil, because in the Bible, it's very explicit. Is that the right word? Explicit? Yeah, explicit about, I don't know if that's the right word. Anyway, about what is dark and evil and awful and the worst, and this is the line, and then what is pure and good and light and good and sweet and joyful, and there's two extremes. Whereas, like, as I've left the church and as I've started to explore my own philosophy about the world just based on how I perceive people or different philosophical ideologies that there are, as I look into those things and pursue those things, it definitely has become murkier and grayer, and those good, light, pure things have mixed with the dark, evil, whatever things, and it's this gray zone that I truly think we sit in. Shout out to the God is Gray podcast. Go listen to her. She's fantastic. Brenda from the God is Gray podcast. But yeah, now I sit in a gray zone, and it's a lot less clear about what exactly I'm supposed to do on a day-to-day basis. And it's a lot less clear about what my main goal is, which is, was to get someone to church and get someone to love Jesus. And so at that time, it was way easier to be like, well, what am I going to do today? I'm going to send out a mass Snapchat to all the people I know saying, Jesus loves you. Easy peasy, easy dubs. Whereas now, I'm like, what am I going to do today? I'm going to make something that has an impact on someone? Is that the good thing that I'm supposed to do? Or I'm going to be a good friend? Is that the morally good thing to do? Or I'm going to completely let go of my earthly desires and just pursue my own what's that called? Nirvana, my own peace and my own goodness. Or I'm going to go out and protest, and I'm going to advocate for people who can't or who are unable to advocate for themselves. There's so many more directions and so many different things to do that it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming with it's overwhelming with a lack of clarity. It feels so blurry and murky, and especially with I still haven't done a full episode on politics, but politics really stress me out because everyone is so mad at each other, and not a lot of it, and some of it is justified. I don't know. It's so complex and nuanced, and it's not shown as complex and nuanced, and that really frustrates me. And I think there is more gray zone in certain things. But I mean, that's just like a micro example of like my macro existential crisis. Uh, Eventually, what it comes down to is I get freaked out and I get like panicked over the question, am I good? Am I a good person? Because my brain can very easily track throughout my day or track throughout my past 3 days and point out exactly when I did something wrong or when I may have said something that really, really hurt someone, that someone could have perceived as like the worst thing they heard all week. Like my brain can very quickly pinpoint exact moments when I could have totally hurt someone, or like every time that my tone could have been off, or every time that I was annoyed with my parents and then they were still so loving to me, or like I don't know, it's very easy to establish that guilt and shame, and so then I quickly hyper focus on those things, those specific experiences, and then I'm like, well, I do all of these things, and so I am just evil. And going back to the religious aspect, that was the basis of what I was taught. The basis was that you are inherently evil, you are inherently worthless. This is just my perception of it, but you are inherently, spoiled. You are inherently a sinner. You can't do anything about that. You yourself can do nothing about that because you are a sinner, and of course there's nothing you can do. And so the only way out of this hole, the only way to become clean, is through Jesus dying on the cross. That is what I was taught. And so when I step away from the church and I step away from, potentially Jesus, it's really hard to have to sit with those feelings and reckon with those feelings of worthlessness that I was taught that I inherently am, and that the evilness that I so deeply believe is like the core of my being. I don't know if I'm over hyping or talking in hyperbolic language about what I was taught in the church, but that was like quite the cornerstone of the gospel. It was like, you are not worthy, you are a sinner, you are evil, but you have Jesus. And I remember I would give sermons on that. I would go on stage and talk about the three-part process of, you are a sinner, you need saving, Jesus saves. Okay? Like I taught on that. And so I know that this is the message, and it's portrayed as something really optimistic because, when you're at church, you know that you always have that conclusion of, but you've got Jesus. So then when you step away from that, I don't know, I have these very deeply ingrained beliefs about myself that I am evil, and only Jesus can save that. So then how do I reconcile with the fact that I don't know if I actually believe that, This could be a very controversial episode. I hope no one in my real life talks to me about this. But that's also how every episode is. I always never want people to talk to me about myself. But yeah, that right there. I just verbally processed that, and I would say that is a big core of why I struggle with the question, am I good? Because I was taught for so long that I wasn't. And that's the truth. I don't like. I feel like I might be overstating that, or like I might be portraying or what's that word? Misrepresenting what I was taught in the church, and that's very possible. It could just be because of the place that I'm in, and that's how I think about it now. But I definitely feel like I specifically remember like that being a part of the gospel. And yeah, that's very tricky. That's very tricky to navigate, because now I'm left with okay, I am inherently evil. How do I fix that? And then any moment of flaw or failure to be the best that I can be, I will hyper focus on that as if it's like this sore on me. Like, it's almost like, feels like I am a being of like dark coal. So imagine like this weird amorphous being of black coal, and then I'm like trying to cover myself up with toilet paper, and I'm trying to do all these things to make myself good and make myself be the best that I can be, no matter how vague it is, no matter how many times the toilet paper breaks. I'll just keep wrapping it up and trying it in different directions and pursuing all of these different ways of wrapping myself in toilet paper, because I don't know which one will be the best fit or will work the best in certain areas. And so eventually I've got myself all wrapped up, and then the coal just starts to break through the toilet paper a bit. And so then I try to cover it up with another piece of toilet paper, and I try to remedy all of those things and all of that. I don't know where this metaphor came from, but yeah, it feels like there's these little bits of coal that are still popping out, and then I hyper focus on those and dwell on those, and how ashamed of the evilness that I inherently am, and then I am left in a place of guilt and shame and anxiousness. And I don't know, I think that's a part of deconstruction that is not talked about enough, and so here I am talking about it, I guess. And that's just been my experience, and I don't know if it speaks to everyone's experiences, but yeah, definitely tricky, definitely nuanced. But also, in talking to friends about this, it's kind of like beautiful how like gray it is, and how stuck we are in the middle, and how that is the most human thing that there is. That's like ultimately my positive conclusion I can come to, is like all of this wrestling and like tussling happening in my brain about thinking of all these different perspectives on everything. Ultimately it comes down to pure authentic humanness, and I love that. I'm obsessed with that, and so I'm kind of okay with that. I think that's kind of gorgeous, kind of beautiful about us folk. Anyway, I hear my sister just got in from the airport, and so I do have to go. But I'm very happy we did this episode. This was a fun one. I did not expect it to go in the direction that it did, but I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. I hope it was helpful for you in some way. But yeah, I love you very much. Or shoot, I said it wrong. Thank you for listening. I love you, and I love you.